just getting okay from Pahrc.
Everybody, please remember to hit the button, speak in the mics. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Human Relations Commission special meeting, Thursday, March 16th, 2023. The meeting will be held in council chamber and virtually. At this time, we will have a roll call by staff.
Vice Chair Eberly.
Here.
Commissioner Kraus.
Here.
Commissioner Navachoke.
Here.
Commissioner Savage.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Present.
All commissioners are present.
Thank you so much. At this time, we will open for public comment. If you have any comment that you would like to make that does not deal with a item on the agenda, this is the time to make it.
So, Chair, we have one hand, so I'll wait till Elena gets the clock up. And okay, Mr. James, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
So I wanted to give you an update on AB 742, which is will be up in front of the Public Safety Committee at the State Assembly on the 21st of March. I'm looking forward to traveling up to Sacramento with Sergeant Sean Allen, who will be giving testimony about why weaponized police canines, police dogs that bite human beings should be banned. There is a tremendous amount of pushback. You can find it on YouTube. Some of it's quite disgusting. It's mostly, as you might expect, Caucasian officers. They feel much to me like they're the direct descendants in their attitudes of the slave catchers. Sadly, the United States is not the only one that uses bred and trained canines that are trained and bred to inflict the maximum amount of punishment and pain on individuals. But the vile state of Israel, the terrorist state of Israel, also imports weaponized canines to push back on the people of Palestine, who are just trying to protect their properties from the greedy Israeli settlers that are trying to take their land. So yeah, it's a very important bill before the Assembly. I thought that, he's a brilliant young man, a first-time Assemblyman, Dr. Corey Jackson, who sponsors the bill in Ashcalora. I was lucky enough to go back on February 13th, I believe it was, to the press conference, and Dr. Corey Jackson, towards the end of his statements, quoted Malcolm X. And I'm not going to quote him verbatim, but Malcolm X said that white men, Caucasians, have substituted their white sheets for police uniforms, badges, and these brutal police canines that terrorize hugely disproportionately Black and brown people. We're starting to see a movement against this in this country. It's gratifying. I feel very fortunate to be able to go up there and hopefully observe the proceedings and maybe come back next month and give you an update on that. I'm not going to try to fit it all in today, but maybe I'll get some of it on Saturday. But there's a really disturbing article that Braden Cartwright wrote on March 3rd, titled "Police Chief to Hold Off Naming Assistant Chief." But the bottom line of the article is that Andrew Binder now, and this is, by the way, this was all gleaned from a Public Records Act. It wasn't something Binder gave out to the public, no surprise there. But he's kept 3 people open for the next assistant police chief. One of them, the alleged vile racist, Zach Perrone. So we'll talk more about that on Saturday.
Thank you, Mr. James.
All right. Are there any agenda changes, additions, or deletions? All right. We will move to the approval of the minutes. There is one edit that needs to be done to the minutes. It is on right under the last page where it says vote for one, it says Vice Chair Smith, where it should just say Chair Smith. Thank you. With that change, can we get a motion on the minutes? Okay, we have Commissioner Kraus has given us a motion for accepting the minutes with the change. Do we have?
I'll second that motion.
We have Vice Chair Eberly with a second on the motion. All right. We'll start at the top of the alphabet on voting. Vice Chair Eberly.
Aye.
Commissioner Navachoke.
Aye.
Commissioner Savage.
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus. I messed up.
Aye.
Thank you. And Chair Smith, aye. All right. We now get to the business of the meeting. We are going to do the HISRAP grantees. This is, I believe, one time in the year that we should extend the courtesy to people. That being said, after we do our presentation and before, we'll do public comment after our presentation, and then we'll go to discussion. But we will give 5 minutes of comment for people because I feel that it's important because there are a lot of people that applied for grants, and we want to make sure that we hear their voice. I will turn this over to Commissioner Kraus to start the presentation.
Okay. Can you just wait until Elena has the presentation up on the screen?
Certainly. It's up? Okay.
And just remember, if everybody can speak directly into the microphone, so those folks that are listening remotely or will listen later can really hear what you have to say.
Okay. This is the human resources allocation process called HESRAP. It's for funding for 2024 through 2025. We had a subcommittee of chair and myself and a citizen by the name of Nana Chandler. And we met repeatedly over this period of time. The primary goal of HESRAP is to meet the needs and improve the quality of life of low-income and vulnerable populations. That's very critical to the leaders of the city and the citizens. It comes from the general funds of the city. Is approximately $622,000, and it's administered by our staff and the Department of Community Services. Chair, I turn it to you.
All right. This year was an unprecedented year for the HISRAP process. This year, we received a total of 24 applicants with 25 applications given over the last cycle, which only had 16 applicants. So we received a total of 8 new applicants. This year, our total funding request was $1,158,919. Okay, and we only had $622 $6,622.376 to give out, leaving us with almost a 50% deficit of funds requested per funds that we could give out.
Microphone, Commissioner, please.
It was on. The HESREP priority of needs are spread across these categories of basic needs, including food, nutrition, housing, mental health, emergency, healthcare, both physical and dental, transportation, digital inclusion. We covered also special needs, children and youth, social services, the homeless, and seniors. I personally am looking forward to being able to include and specify women for our next cycle because the world has changed.
As the next slide will show, each of the grantees or the ones that apply for the grant, we ask them to match up what need that they meet from the HISRAP need. The goal with these categories is to throw as wide a net as possible so that we could serve as many people as possible. Commissioner?
The evaluation criteria have really evolved over time. As I discussed with staff today, it's become a very long linear list, and maybe we'll go through some of that. We look at the proposals. We look for completeness. We look for the articulation of ideas, how programs are laid out, the demographics, how many people in this category, that category, and how many people are served from Palo Alto. These are the priority of needs for the fiscal year 24 and 2025. And it's really reaching out to the vulnerable and underserved populations. The structure is that we have to diversify, and it's complicated. And we're hoping that there may be some additional funds forthcoming. We have a way of evaluating. We have goals and we have objectives. To put it in a nutshell, we spent a great deal of time independently and collectively reviewing every applicant. This was not done quickly, and I've carried this binder around for a long time now. And I turn it to the chair again.
All right, here go our funding recommendations for this year. The reviewers wish to thank all the applicants for submitting proposals and for their dedication in providing highly valuable and critical services to the citizens of Palo Alto. The recommended allocations now presented to the full HRC for its review and approval. Once approved, the recommendations will then be forwarded to the Finance Committee of the City Council for consideration and approval. Unfortunately, because this year we had the largest number of applicants ever received for this program, we also had we were significantly over in request than available funds. Funding recommendations. The following organizations submitted well-crafted applications that align closely with the priority of needs and the evaluation criteria. They are current HISRAP grantees and are recommended for 85% of their fiscal 23 allocation or fiscal 24 funding request, whichever was lower. Ability Path, Adolescent Counseling Service Outlet Program, Alta Housing, Counseling and Support Services for Youth, Dream Catchers, CARA, La Comida, Life Moves, Ravenswood Family Health Center, Senior Adult Legal Services, Vista Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Youth Community Services. The following and or expansion of a current program to reach a vulnerable population. Downtown Street Teams, Karat School Project, Peninsula Healthcare Connections, the Health Trust. The following organizations are not currently receiving HESRAP funding. Reviewers felt that they submitted well-crafted applications that were aligned with the priority of needs and the evaluation criteria and proposed a program and or service that reviewers felt would meet a critical need in the community. Children's Health Council, Heart and Home Collaborative, Palo Alto Renters Association, Pahrc, YMCA Palo Alto, and We Hope. The following organizations were not recommended for funding allocations. Ada's Cafe, Adolescent Counseling Service, Adolescent Substance Abuse Treatment Program, and Blossom Birth. The next tab. Funding recommendations included in the draft budget of the Community Services Department and are considered by the Council's Finance Committee. The Finance Committee budget recommendations are presented to the city. As we can see this year, we had a very difficult task because we just didn't have enough. There were a lot of great programs, and we know there are a lot of needs, so we couldn't fund everybody to a significantly higher level, but we wanted to at least give them some funding during these difficult times. The other challenge, we have contingency plans because council has come back one year before with 50,000, another year with 200,000, and we want to fill in funding gaps if we get more from council, but we don't want to promise what we don't have control over. So at this time, I want to turn it over to staff for comments. We will start in room and then we'll go online, in room, online, and we'll tic-tac.
So were you going to go to commissioner questions first? You wanted to go to the public first.
So if
that's fine.
Yes.
So at this point, I ask participants to raise their virtual hand if you'd like to speak. The chair is allowing 5 minutes per person. What we will do is, we know that there are members.
One thing, staff.
Yes.
I want to take a moment to really recognize Nana Chancellor. She is a citizen that has a lot of exposure in our community, and she really volunteered and helped us with this. So, and when I say this was a 10-hour, 12-hour of just meetings, and then another 10 hours of reading and research, it was a lot of work. So we're grateful for her commitment to helping us in this project.
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith. It was a huge undertaking by Nana, and staff really enjoyed working with her, and she was very thorough in all her reviews. So it was a great addition to the team. So again, we are giving each person who wishes to speak 5 minutes. We will try to go back and forth between those that are online and those that are in person. If people are in person and wish to speak, there are comment cards at the back of the room. And once you have completed them, you can give them to my colleague, Elena. So at this point, Elena, I'll ask you to get the clock on, and I will, okay. So you were very brave to get that all done live. So those are the other ones we have. Why don't we start with Teresa Johnson? Did you want me to call the names, Chair? Is that easier for you? Okay. So Teresa,
we're just listening.
Okay, Teresa Johnson, if you want to come forward, you'll have 5 minutes. And Teresa, you will be able to see the time there. And theoretically, you should see it there too. Okay. Thank you so much.
We have more than tripled the number of clients and the number of meals that we're providing in our community. We really thought that the demand would decrease as vaccinations came in and people didn't get it, but that's not happened. What we found is that the majority of the clients that we started serving during the pandemic really need to continue with the services because they're seniors, they're homebound, they're a low income, and they don't have a way to get their own food, so we can provide the home delivered meals. This year, we lost about $1.5 million in funding for our program countywide, and your support is going to help us to continue to serve the Palo Alto residents that are in need of the home delivered meals. Last year, we served 36 homebound seniors, and we provided about 6,474 meals in Palo Alto. We did not turn down any applicants last year or this year so far. The meal cost for that alone was about $52,000. And we are grateful for the recommendation of funding for $18,360 for our program to provide care for the seniors. Our seniors are homebound, they're isolated, they're low income, and they're nutritionally at risk. Seniors that are not able to easily access food through food banks, congregate sites, and other kind of resources in the community. Your contribution is really critical for us because we will leverage your contribution to raise the other needed funds through donations and grants. Your funds will assist us in providing the meals for the seniors in Palo Alto, and we are not requesting any funding for staff or overhead. We do a lot of fundraising to help shore that up. We do provide more than a meal, in case you're not familiar with Meals on Wheels. In addition to hot and frozen meal service, we provide wellness checks for our clients. If the client's not home, we follow up. The driver calls us, I didn't see this person, or they said to leave the meal and they were coming to the door, but we follow up. We make sure that they're okay. We contact their emergency contact if needed. And since many of our clients live alone, our drivers might be the only people they see during the week for, conversation and things like that. We do take very good care of the funding that we raise. We utilized over 6,000 hours in volunteer service last year. We have volunteer drivers that go out. We do not even reimburse them for their mileage, and they still go out and deliver meals for us. We do, of course, have a paid staff because we served over 332,000 meals last year. So it has been quite the process over the last couple of years. For our most elderly and frail clients, we have a free Friends for Meals on Wheels program where they can get weekly home visits or phone calls. I want to end by telling you about Lily. She lives in Palo Alto. She's 92 years old, and she lives on $1,050 per month. She's legally blind. She has severe osteoporosis. And she says, I'm very, very thankful for the meals. I don't know what I would do without them. They are really a big help. When her circumstances were better, she said, I always made a small donation to Meals on Wheels, and now here I am receiving the service myself. She enjoys speaking with our staff and notes that they are always helpful. When we provided her with a handmade birthday blanket, which we provide for all of our clients, and you can see it's beautiful. We have a group of people who make those. She said that she felt like she was a kid in Disneyland, and she was so happy and grateful. So again, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your consideration of our proposal, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Teresa. The next speaker is Arthur Keller. Arthur, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for your evaluation and for your support of our program. We'd just like to thank you for evaluating us. And we'd like to suggest that if there is additional funding, you decide now what the additional funding goes, so that therefore you don't have to meet again. Thank you. I belong to La Comida program.
Oh, we were just thinking, Mr. Keller, and I said, I think he's on the board at Avenidas, but no, you're on the board at La Comida. So
That's right.
Thank you so much. So
Thank
if
you.
everybody could just make sure we know your organization. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hold on, please. So then we will go to the next speaker in person. Okay, Maura. And Maura will have then Dale Calhoun. So Maura, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Minka. Good afternoon, Chair Smith and commissioners. Thank you for all you do. You all have an amazing task here and you support our community tremendously. And I can't even imagine how you went through so much work to review all of those applications. So thank you. My name is Maura Oman. I am the Executive Director of Youth Community Service, one of the organizations that you will be recommending to get funded again. So thank you so much. YCS's mission is to connect youth to service opportunities in the community. So many of the nonprofits and service organizations that you funded are ones that we partner with so that our youth can learn about ways to support our community. So each of the nonprofits that you support are instrumental to the work that we do as well. So thank you for that. In addition to being the executive director of YCS, I'm a resident of Palo Alto, and I am the mother of a teenager who lives and was born here and grew up here, and Palo Alto is her home. So all the nonprofits in some way or the other have been instrumental in her shaping who she is today as well. I'm here primarily to kind of reiterate what Chair Smith said. I looked at the applications and there was about $1.5 million in requests. And so I can imagine how challenging it was for you all to make decisions with a limit of about 620,000. Last time around, and this is a 2-year process, there was about 550K, and then the city council came back with about 200K. So we had 750K to work with, which is a little bit more than what currently we are giving out. So my hope is that you all will also advocate on behalf of nonprofits to request the city council to allocate more funding so that some of that 1.5 million can get funded in our community. Our nonprofits are still suffering. I know that 200K was probably put in because of COVID. Many of us are still helping and supporting the community and our clients who are in need and are struggling, but we as nonprofits are also struggling. It's hard to keep our staff supported as they struggle through COVID as well. So we're not out of COVID as nonprofits, and we hope that you will consider that. We will continue to do our part as community members to advocate and to speak to the city council, but we hope that you will also continue to request that there be more funding allocated to HISRAP. So on that note, I just want to thank you again, and I look forward to continuing to support the work that you do as well for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. The next speaker is Dale Calhoun, and Dale is online. Dale, go ahead. You have 5 minutes, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dale Calhoun. I'm the newest project manager for Downtown Streets team in Palo Alto. I first want to give a huge thanks to the community members, the years in considering our application. For those of you who don't know, Downtown Streets team is an evidence-based nonprofit originated here in Palo Alto, and we've expanded to 17 different communities. We work with at-risk and unhoused individuals in obtaining employment and housing, as well as providing volunteer shifts in the community in exchange for basic needs stipends. Through the HISRAP grant, we're requesting an increase in funding to expand our outreach team. This outreach would target hotspots in Palo Alto, as well as funding for vital documents such as birth certificates and social security cards, which are huge barriers to entry with housing and employment. With inflation and worsening inclement weather events, there is an increased demand for our services. but without a substantial increase in funding, we're unable to expand our services to the Palo Alto residents that have been impacted. I'm sure many of you community members have ran into many of the folks we work with and provide outreach to, and we're hoping to give more of these individuals a chance at pursuing their goals. Thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you, Dale. The next speaker is Mary Wisniewski. Mary, do you want to come on down? And then after Mary will be Philip Daw and then Delazio Emerson.
Good evening, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Thank you for your energy in attending to the needs, the human needs of Palo Alto, and for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Mary Wisniewski, and I am the president of Heart and Home Collaborative. We are a small volunteer-run nonprofit providing wintertime shelter to unhoused women in Palo Alto. We've operated in Palo Alto for 10 years, and this is the first year that we have applied for funding through the HSRAP grant process. We are grateful that the reviewers have recommended us for significant funding for 2024. In many ways, Heart and Home services are simple. Our shelter is a simple box. It's just the room in a house of faith that is open between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. each day from November through April. Local houses of faith donate this space so that up to 15 women, any self-identifying women, can stay with us at that time. We give them a mattress on the floor and we give them meals every day and storage for some of their belongings. One staff member stays with the participants every night, and someone from the community brings dinner, and 3 volunteers come and help out in the evening. But the impact of these simple services is huge. First of all, we are one of the very few organizations offering unhoused people a place to sleep indoors. In 2022, the point-in-time count identified 274 unhoused Palo Altans, 96% of whom were unsheltered in cold and rainy February when the count takes place. Our volunteer-run environment facilitates the creating a caring and supportive community. Our philosophy centers serving the participants with kindness and respect. Every evening, we make space for participants and volunteers to eat together, to get to know each other, and to support one another. And in doing so, we are providing housed community members a way to connect with participants across that barrier of having and not having housing, to learn from them and to give back to them. Third, having a very small shelter means that we have the flexibility to meet the needs of each client in a more individualized way. This year, we introduced in-house case management services focused on helping participants set and achieve goals. In just a few short weeks, more than half of our participants working with our case manager took steps toward the goals that they set, including finding jobs, accessing Social Security disability income, and securing reliable transportation. A big part of the success of our shelter's mission is to center the voices and experiences of the unhoused women of our community. The recommended grant from HSRAP will give us much needed cash flow stability in our early season funding. The amount will cover our shelter's fixed costs like insurance and training and all the personnel costs for our first shelter session of the year. We are largely funded by individual donors who are more likely to give money once the shelter is open, because that's when we are visible in the community, and also because that's when the annual cycle of giving tends to peak after we're already open. So receiving the HSRAP grant will allow us to diversify our funding and support our mission to keep our doors open and to open them with confidence that we can complete the season. I'd like to leave you with the words of a former participant who is now in housing. Heart and Home is the best experience I've had in 3 years of being homeless. It's the support I got when I was there. Volunteers gave me rides, helped with laundry, and brought in great food. And then there was the emotional support. Everyone listened and encouraged me when I was ready to give up. They gave me hope, and there is so little of that out here. Thank you for considering Heart and Home Collaborative in this round of HSRAP funding.
Thank you, Mary. The next speaker is Philip Daw. Philip, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you, commissioners, and good evening. Thank you for considering our application. My name is Philip Daw, and I'm Senior Director of Life Moves at the Opportunity Services Center. And as you may all know, Life Moves has had a footprint in both San Mateo and Santa Clara County, providing homeless services to vulnerable adults, women, and children. But Palo Alto is really what we call our home, because Our flagship program, the Opportunity Center, has been here for 17 years, and Hotel de Zinc, which is an all-year rotating shelter program which we partner with faith-based organizations, have been in Palo Alto for over 40 years. Every night we provide 20 beds to men and women, adults, and we also provide basic case management services to make sure that when they leave those programs, they will be able to find a place that they can call home. So we try to find housing for those people in our programs. During the last 2 years, in the midst of COVID, we saw a significant increase in demand for our services, especially at the Opportunity Center, with meals, basic meals, breakfast and lunch, and also one of the most important services that we provide, which is rental assistance for people who had lost their homes and lost their jobs because of COVID. We spent over $200,000 in providing Palo Alto residents only with rent relief, utility assistance, for people not to lose their homes and keep them, because we were part of the EAN Emergency Assistance Network of Santa Clara County, who receive philanthropic money from either the county or United Way to be able to provide those services. And of course, we also did get money from the city of Palo Alto to provide those rental assistance relief for Palo Alto residents. Because of that, the number of people that we saw coming through the drop-in services center, we realized that we needed to do more to find out what the basic needs may be for some of those clients. And so we've hired a case manager whose job is to, we call him the drop-in services case manager. And his job is to be in the courtyard to provide what we term now as radical hospitality, to make sure that everybody who walks in the door is welcomed. We know who they are. They feel comfortable. They feel they call the Opportunity Center at home, so that they will be able to open up and so we can provide them with the services that they need to get back on their feet. And because of that, I was also able to work with one of our philanthropists in Palo Alto to provide us with relief for folks who are sleeping in their vehicles. And the goal is that we will be able to provide some funding for people who have vehicles but are not roadworthy, to fix those vehicles to get for them to get back to work, doing basic stuff like DoorDash, or even be able to get to work, because we found that a lot of the folks who are on the street sleeping in their vehicles are not able to move those vehicles because they are not roadworthy. They either don't have tires or brakes are not working, and those vehicles could be their meal ticket to a better life or getting out of homelessness. And so fortunately for us, this philanthropic organization in Palo Alto is partnering with us, and we in turn will be partnering with our sister agencies in Palo Alto to recruit folks who are sleeping in their vehicles who need those assistance to be able to fix those vehicles and go back to work. And so with that, I want to thank the commission, Chairman Smith, and everybody on there for considering our application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. The next speaker is Delazio Emerson. Come on up.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Smith, Council. And really choosing who receive funds and who don't and how much is a tough decision. I'm grateful for those organizations that will be funded. Those organizations in partnership with the YMCA continue to do the work in serving the Palo Alto community, and that's what it's all about. I thank you for an opportunity to come before you humbly to say that consideration and that work does not go unnoticed on behalf of those doing the work and where the rubber meets the road. But just wanted to say again, just thank you.
Thank you, Delazio. The next speaker is Sharon Hudson. Sharon, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Sharon Hudson, and I'm with Vista Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We're an organization that has been in the city of Palo Alto for over 80 years. We provide services to people who are blind or visually impaired to help them to regain their independence, reduce their isolation and their depression from losing their vision. by providing them the services. What we do is we do an intake to connect them to services in our organization, as well as organizations that are outside our services, such as talking books, if they need food or Social Security or other needs. We then also provide them in-home training, such as, for instance, cooking and cleaning, because even the simplest tasks, such as pouring a cup of coffee, can become very difficult when you can't see whether the cup is full, or even if you're hitting the cup with your coffee. Medication management is a large area that we work on to make sure people are able to know what medications they're taking so that they can do it safely, so they don't over-medicate or accidentally take the wrong medication. We work with people on orientation and mobility, which is training them to be able to move efficiently and safely in their environment or in the community. Most people think of it as like white cane training, but for many seniors, it's extremely important to teach people how to move around safely in their environment so it prevents falling, which leads to hospitalization. We provide access technology training, teaching people even to use their phone when you can no longer see the numbers or be able to see the screen. How do you use accessible technology such as screen readers or Siri or TalkBack if you're using an Android? We have counseling and adjustment to disability support groups to assist people. We have a low vision clinic with doctors who are specially trained to work with people with the magnifiers and special glasses that can help. These are glasses that you're not going to find at a regular optometrist because they don't handle those much stronger magnifications. It's beyond what you'll find in your regular doctor's office. So we work with the whole person to make sure that they're able to do all the things that they need to do day to day, to be independent, to be safe, and to feel like they can take control of their lives. I want to thank the council for really considering us and supporting us over the years. And I know that this was a difficult decision for all these different groups. And many of us work together, so we all appreciate your support. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sharon. The next speaker is Pastor Baines. Pastor Baines, please go ahead, please.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Good evening, commissioners, and I want to thank you all for this consideration and all the hard work that you all had to put in, having to make very difficult and challenging decisions. So we are definitely grateful for all of that. And a person that has been born and raised in the city of Palo Alto the majority of my life, we must look out for our neighbors. And so I thank you all for looking out for our neighbors. Now, while this may have roughly been 90% less of what we requested, we are still grateful because it's 14,000 more than what we didn't have. And so we'll just pray that the fish and the loaves will multiply this with the support of our council by giving all these organizations a little bit more funding. While my organization, We Hope, is headquartered in East Palo Alto, we know that when it comes to homelessness, our unhoused brothers and sisters know no boundaries, no county lines, no city lines. And so this funding will help us in supporting those unhoused brothers and sisters and families. We've been serving Palo Alto for at least 10 years without any funding from the city of Palo Alto. And so this is our first time submitting an application, and we are just really, really grateful that you all chose us to support our mission. For those who don't know about us, we are basically in 7 different counties and servicing 22 cities throughout the Bay Area. And we actually partner with many of the organizations that have submitted requests for funding. I actually sat on the board of 3 of the organizations. So I'm glad to see that they were also funded. We Hope stands for We Help Other People Excel. And we have supported members of the Palo Alto community through our safe parking program, through case management services, and through our application for mobile hygiene services, where people can obtain a shower, get their clothes washed so they'll have clean clothes, receive case management, and also use our restroom facilities. And that, of course, allows us to build trust with them and then get them on the road to a self-sufficiency trajectory, because we've established a relationship by meeting their basic human right needs by providing clean water, access to clean water. So again, we thank you. Even as a preacher, I'm giving you back time, which is unrare for us as pastors, but you got it back. So thank you again. Blessings.
Sorry, could you not hear me? This is Diana Conti.
Oh, we could not. We could not. So we will go to you, and then Georgia, we will come back to you in a second.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened, but
that is okay. So go ahead, please, Diana.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Conti. I'm the CEO of Pahrc. Pahrc has been providing services for people with developmental disabilities in the Bay Area since 1952. I'm here to thank you for the recommendation for the support for our Page Mill Court apartments. The biggest dream of people with developmental disabilities is to live independently in a place that they can afford. And Page Mill Court allows them to do that. It's a beautiful 24-unit apartment complex. They can live independently and be self 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s did not have that level of choice. And the people, it's affordable because they're charged 1/3 of their income. For most of the people who live there, their income is about $650 from SSI. Without this program, they would likely become unhoused. It's wonderful to see it. It's wonderful to see them blossom and thrive, and we appreciate your support in doing that. We're also very appreciative of the support of all of the Palo Alto community that welcomes them in an inclusive way. And the world has come a long way since 1952 when Pahrc started. Back then, parents were told not to get attached to their children with developmental disabilities, but to put them in an institution and not bond with them. And they banded together in the early 50s and said, that's just not good enough. Now, of course, and the Palo Alto community is part of making a welcoming place. So they can go to school, they can work, they can have relationships, they can make their own choices, because back in the 50s, they weren't even allowed to decide what they wanted to eat for dinner. So it's great to see them blossom and grow and be creative and they're really to live their best lives, and you make that happen, and we so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. So the next speaker is Georgia Basil. Georgia, go ahead, please.
Good evening. This is Georgia Basile. I'm the directing attorney of Senior Adults Legal Assistance. We're known as SALA to the community. We are a nonprofit law office that provides free legal services to Palo Alto residents 60 or older, targeting clients that are low income or at risk of abuse or loss of independence. Last year, 72% of the Palo Alto seniors we served were extremely low income. That is, they were at or below 30% of the median income here in Palo Alto, or I should say in the county. 70% were 75 or older, and 62% had a disability, factors making them highly vulnerable. Our current funding supports expanded availability of our services for Palo Alto seniors, and we thank you so much for that. We are requesting funding to continue services next year. Last year during COVID, we provided our services remotely and primarily by phone. This fiscal year, we were able to reinstate our in-person appointments at Avenidas Senior Center, and we're very grateful to Avenidas for hosting us. We also continue to serve clients by phone that cannot leave their homes or that have emergencies that cannot wait for a senior center appointment. We address a range of legal matters impacting our clients' daily lives. For example, we assist clients with legal problems involving the public benefits they depend on to meet their basic needs: Social Security, SSI, Medicare, and Medi-Cal. We help them navigate these systems and represent them at hearings and at appeals for their benefits. We assist clients that are worried about eviction, clients needing reasonable accommodations in their housing, or clients whose housing is otherwise in jeopardy. We assist clients that need to do basic legal planning for the future to help them age in place by appointing someone they trust to step in and manage their affairs when they can no longer do so. But most of our clients cannot afford a private attorney at $400 to $500 an hour to provide these services. And we assist clients that are victims of elder abuse, physical and financial, usually by someone living in their homes or someone they know, an adult child, a grandchild, caregivers, tenants renting out rooms in their home, sometimes even their neighbors. We are a law office, so our attorneys represent clients in the full scope of court proceedings to obtain domestic violence or elder abuse restraining orders to prevent this abuse. We're funded by the Older Americans Act, and as such, we cannot charge fees for our services or accept fee-generating cases. The primary way we support our services is through grants, such as HISRAP. So your funding recommendations for recommending funding for us again next year, and we hope that we can count on your support to address the needs of Palo Alto elders. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. The next speaker is Lauren Williams. Lauren, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lauren Williams, and tonight I am here to represent Dreamcatchers as one of the organization's board members. On behalf of the students and families we serve, our staff, and the board of directors, I would like to thank the Human Services Resource Allocation Process members for their work, their time, and their commitment to the community. This year, Dreamcatchers is serving 125 middle school students, up from 80 students last school year, and we are serving them across all 3 of Palo Alto's middle school campuses. We are also engaging with 200 local high school and college-age tutors mentors as part of our program, creating sustained service learning for these students that would otherwise not be in place without Dreamcatchers. The city of Palo Alto is part of Dreamcatchers' history. It was through the Human Relations Commission's work that Dreamcatchers was established. Today, our organization and our program continue to focus on promoting equity in education by serving socioeconomically disadvantaged middle school students attending Palo Alto schools. We are thankful to the City of Palo Alto and the Human Services Resource Allocation Process reviewers for their recommended financial support and for the city's continued focus on serving the needs of the underserved in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. The next speaker is Lauren Bigelow. Lauren, go ahead, please.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Lauren Bigelow, and I am the board president of Palo Alto Renters Association. We are so proud of the work we've been able to accomplish in our first few years and look forward to serving even more members of our 27,000 renter-strong population in Palo Alto. We're grateful to staff for seeing the critical need in supporting Palo Alto's renters and providing legal counseling to them. I want to reiterate that we work alongside Palo Alto Mediation Program historically. We've worked with tenants to figure out if they're covered by particular renter protections. And as soon as that case became about the relationship between the renter and landlord, Pahrc refers the case to Palo Alto Mediation Program. I thank you again for your thoughtful consideration of all of the HISRAP applications. There's so much good work being done in Palo Alto, much of which is possible through your work and the allocation of funds through the HISRAP. I look forward to hearing your discussion tonight and wish you luck in making your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Before we move on to Anne Marie, if there are others that are on the call or in chambers that wish to speak, please either fill out a speaker card or raise your virtual hand. So, but at this point, I will go to Anne Marie. Anne Marie, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
We certainly can.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mika. Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Marie Hong. I'm the grants manager with Ability Path. Thank you to the City of Palo Alto and the Human Relations Commission for having us here today and for your recommendation of our proposal for FY 24-25. If you are unfamiliar with Ability Path, you may know us as our former entity, Abilities United. We merged with the San Mateo County-based Community Gate Path in 2019 and renamed ourselves Ability Path to better reflect our mission. Ability Path has been a cornerstone of the community for over 100 years. Founded in 1920, our services have evolved over the years to meet the growing, changing needs of our community. Ability Path provides services and programs to children, adults, and families with special needs and intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. Ability Path serves over 3,000 individuals each year across both counties through our Learning Links inclusive preschools, children's therapy services, family support services, and adult services departments to further our mission of empowering people with special needs, programs, and community partnerships. The focus of our funding request from the City of Palo Alto is our Adult Services Department. Our adult services programs, which consist of community integrated day programs, employment services, independent living skills, services for stroke and brain injury, and enrichment services such as computer education and art instruction, assist individuals over the age of 18 with developmental disabilities to fully participate in their community through employment, educational, recreational, social, and volunteer activities. Using community resources and experiences, life skills and employment coaches assist individuals to acquire or expand their skills and increase their independence. Our programs ties with the Palo Alto community run deep through many volunteer and employment partnerships, many of whom are also supported by HRC, social and recreational activities, and meaningful educational opportunities. Our adult day program in particular relies on the daily enrichment that this community provides and strengthens the community as well. In fiscal year 2022, Ability Path served 21 Palo Alto residents, 12 of whom participated in more than one Ability Path adult services program. COVID severely impacted the services for individuals who rely on in-person, community, and home-based support. I'm happy to report that the efforts our teams made to pivot to online classes, virtual social events, at-home delivery of activity supplies, and remote support made a huge difference to the individuals we serve. At this time, we are still gradually ramping up to increased in-person services. Our one-on-one programs, which are independent living skills and employment services, are back to in-person with various COVID-related protocols still in place. Our day programs are on a hybrid schedule of half in-person and half virtual program each week. A little over 60% of the day program is back to in-person. The remaining individuals are hesitant to return due to vulnerability to COVID. I did want to share the impact of our services on Palo Alto residents by talking about one specific example. We serve an individual who has been interested in paid employment for years, but has social anxiety that prevents them from pursuing many opportunities, despite having incredible skills to offer employers. After working for many, many years on their independent living skills and honing a personal interest in the visual arts, this individual voluntarily engaged in our employment services program to find a job. Our staff, knowing this individual's passions, abilities, and fears, approached another local organization and proposed an internship that would utilize the specific strengths of this person. Our employment team helped that partner to arrange needed accommodations and assisted that individual to successfully train on the job. This job enabled the individual to work on social anxiety, develop hard and soft skills, and most importantly, recognize that they could accomplish their goals. As a result, that person went on to accomplish other achievements, namely speaking publicly about their job and about how important paid employment is in their life. This is a major feat for them. We look forward to continuing to support the individuals in our programs to achieve their goals with the steadfast support of the City of Palo Alto. And I welcome the opportunity to answer any questions you may have about our programs or our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. So I did not, oh yes, we have one more name. Tony Hughes. Tony, go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, Minka. Can you hear me? It's Tony Hughes.
I certainly can. Go ahead, Tony.
Great. Thank you. I just want to make sure that the remarks that Kathleen submitted earlier today have been acknowledged and received by the commission. And
yes, they each got a copy at their stations on the dais.
And I'm curious whether or not those comments were going to be read into the public record. Is that something you guys do?
It is. Go ahead, Chair.
It is not something we do, but in fairness to all grant seekers, we ask them to give it all the information the same way. But given the passion and the importance of the letter, everybody that has to vote on this has received it, and they have it for their deliberation.
Great, thank you. I wasn't going to actually make a comment, but I just heard the comments from program in contrast to the 10 mission-based employees at ADA's who work at ADA's and live in Palo Alto. I was struck by the at least the similarity or the zip code relatedness of those two numbers. So I'll knowing you have our remarks, we'll appreciate your fair consideration, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Tony. Chair, I don't see any other hands raised.
No. Thank you. As I share with staff, this is probably the hardest meeting for me as a chair year in and year out. I think everyone that gave an application has a heart for people. And we think it is really good work. I really wish we could fund everybody. I really do. We have Nana on the call. Do you want to make any comments really quickly? This is our community person that helped us with the deliberations.
Oh, thank you, Coloma. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. You know what? I would actually love to just take a quick minute to thank you, first of all, Chair Coloma Smith, for inviting me to be included in this process. I also want to thank Commissioner Michelle Krause, Minka, and Elena. I've been incredibly inspired and impressed by all of your wisdom, big hearts, and hard work. It's been a very challenging, but also very heartwarming experience. And I'm just so deeply grateful to be part of this community, and grateful to all the incredible nonprofits that we have here. You are changing lives every single day. And I know I speak on behalf of our whole committee when I say that I wish we were in a position to grant you everything that you deserve. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you. All right, let us go to, do you have anything to say, Commissioner Krause? And then we can open up for questions from the committee, from the commissioners.
I would concur with Nana and the chair that this has been one of the most important tasks that have come before the commission. It is so important, and it's an honor and it's humbling to have had the opportunity to spend this in-depth time. I'll tell you, it's more hours than you've suggested. I've carried these in my heart and when I sleep, and I wake up, as Minka staff knows, and I say, no, we can't do that. You're right. So it's really in our hearts and our souls, and I just wish that we could do more.
Thank you. Commissioners, if there are any questions?
I have a question.
There you go. Commissioner Navachoke.
Thanks. I just want to begin by thanking the staff, Commissioner Kraus and Chair Smith, and the public comments and everyone who applied, and Nana Chancellor who's on the call. I'm very impressed by your extensive research and overview and this in-depth analysis, and I can imagine the challenges in compiling this list. There are many, many deserving organizations. My question is just lack of general knowledge, but is there a way for City Council to increase funding so that we may reach out to other organizations that didn't receive the amounts they requested? Thank you.
We can send our packet to council, and we can highlight the deficiencies in funding and express the difficulties in funding, and hopefully they can find money in the budget. It was interesting. I read they got $24 million back today. So maybe they can break off 1 million and we'll fund everybody. That's just a thought. It's just a thought. So yeah, that's how it works.
Thank you.
Oh,
Commissioner Savage.
A couple things. I see the funding amount, 622,000 is the same as the year before.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that usual? Is like a limited, finite number?
It is. It's what we use as a starting point, and what the subcommittee makes recommendations for is what we know at this moment will be in the budget for next year.
Okay.
So several things may change. Often the HISREP program is given just a CPI. So that's just a 4% increase. And then we divide that, evenly among the grantees. Sometimes last year, what they did is they gave an additional 200,000. So what we decided to do was to do an additional HISREP process for 1 year. So to address, I think, Maura's question, that was 1 year funding. So it wasn't something we could add on to the base of this year's funding. So what sometimes happens during the Finance Committee is that a council member may express the desire to add more funding to HISREP. Sometimes that just ends in the parking lot for a while. Sometimes it gets back when the Finance Committee promotes the budget to the full council, and the council takes up on it. So it really, every year is a different experience if and how additional funding for HISREP is allocated. I think that's why the chair had mentioned that the committee really wants to take some baselines if more additional funding was added and what they can do with it. Because I can tell you, doing an additional HISREP process is extremely staff intensive. So with the huge amount of unfunded requests, that there is the opportunity to think of a backup plan. But that is no promise, obviously, whatsoever that any funding may be recommended by the council. Every year is different.
Just to be clear, we actually have 3 other contingencies if we get additional funding. So.
Okay. A couple other things. So first of all, just hearing the applicants who spoke their gratitude toward the commission, makes me feel really proud to be part of this commission. And thank you, both of you, for going above and beyond, the hours spent, I'm sure was worth it. Now I see no organization received the funds they require. Everybody got a little less than they had hoped for. But one in particular, I wanted to ask about We Hope. I know they're a first-time applicant, and they received 14,000 of the 112,000 they asked for. Was there a certain kind of criteria used for that decision? I know, there's not enough to go around, but I'm just wondering why the discrepancy is so great.
With We Hope, we looked at doing their services one day a month. So they gave us some numbers that say, if you do 50% of this, so we ended up taking just a quarter of a month funding because we knew the service was important, and we really wanted to be at 2 or 3 times a month or 4 times a month, but we couldn't get to that other number without cutting somebody else off significantly. So it was a hard balance with that. That was our thinking on We Hope.
Okay, all right, that's it. Just good job all around.
Thank you.
I also would like to thank everybody involved in the subcommittee. I know I've done it before, and I think we had less than half of these many applicants, and I know that was a ton of work, so I can only imagine how much work you all put into it and how much thought and discussion. And I know it's not an easy decision. Everybody would like to fund all these organizations to the full extent that they're asking for. And unfortunately, we just don't get to make that choice. So thank you. Also, I also really appreciated all the organizations calling in and talking a little bit about their organizations. I know I've had professional and personal relations with some of them, but it's great to learn about the other ones. And I know that we got to do some visits this past year, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more visits now that we have new applicants in the future. It really helps us, understand more fully what the organization does. So thank you for calling and taking the time to come down and talk to us. Now, I do have to ask, why is it that there were 2 organizations and 1 program that did not get any funding? If you can please tell us what the thought process was behind that.
Okay.
I'll let you guys explain it.
I'll do that one. Okay. I'll start with Blossom Birth. The review committee acknowledges the value of the program. We felt like prenatal care for women is critical, but the category that they highlighted under the needs assessment didn't match the service that they presented. So it became a mismatch of service versus ask. Adolescent counseling service, great program. The challenge was that they weren't serving anybody currently in the school system for that program. So to fund back in, and we just didn't know if the funding was going to reach people in Palo Alto. ADA's was a harder one. We were just not clear if the funding was going to reach as many people as possible. We couldn't find a way to, like how we were able to parse out, like this is a quarter time, we couldn't parse out anything to do with ADA in the same way. So those were the hard choices we made.
Just a follow-up. Is the subcommittee giving feedback back to these organizations? And
we asked them, in the HISRAS process, so that everybody's clear, when we get the applications, we get to ask them questions. That's the amount of feedback they get until we get to this public moment. So that's where.
If they choose after and it goes past the HRC and the council, if they want to set a time with me and say, hey, what happened? What strengths did you see in the application? What areas of growth should we consider? and my microphone's not on.
That's
I'm
on.
more than happy to meet with any applicant that wants to speak with me after the process is completely decided, to have any conversation regarding their application.
Thank you. I was a little bit confused about the Blossom Birth application on whether they were providing services at lower cost or free services for women in need. And I did not get that across from the application. So
that was the challenge we had, because it's at a basic need and we couldn't identify a basic need in the application. So that was our challenge with it.
And do you know if Ability Path works with Ada's Cafe to place individuals there?
They have an interesting program that they're just rolling out that we're actually excited about. I wish we could fund it some way. Is that they are doing a kitchen where they're going to put stuff, where they're going to put products together to sell, and that would be amazing, because that would be easier for us to fund than when they put in the application. We would like to hear from our distinguished council liaison.
Well, thank you, Chair Smith. I want to thank all the commissioners and the staff, Nana Chancellor, as well as our community representative, all the applicants. I'm brand new to council, and I'm just feeling fortunate that I got assigned to be the liaison to this committee, commission. This is the reason I, went to law school. This is where my heart is. And so I'm with you on the imperative to try to find more funds. I think now may also be a good time to just let you know that we've also really heard that 5 people is not enough to do this work. And many of us spoke about that at a recent meeting. And so as we look ahead, I can't make any promises. I'm not speaking for council right now, but I just want you to know that your work is extremely valued, extremely respected, and that your needs are seen. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. I will take a break because is she coming back?
No, we're trying to get her a cup of water. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break and check on the commissioner. Can we, we'll take a 5-minute break, please. Thank, we are now back in order. Thank you all. Thank you to our council liaison. I will entertain a motion on a motion. If anybody would like to make a motion. Yes, you can. Do you want to make the motion, Daryl, or do you want to make the motion?
Your microphone, Commissioner.
I move to, Commissioner Kraus moved, seconded by Commissioner Savage, to affirm the recommendation of the reviewers of the subcommittee that is included. This doesn't make sense, Minka.
It does.
Oh, it does?
From the recommendation of the reviewers that is included in the staff report.
You can do that. Is what attachment is it? You can indicate an attachment if you want. Is it attachment C?
Okay.
You would go with attachment A.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Kraus, I'm sorry, Commissioner Savage, did you really second that?
In my mind, I did. Now
okay, good. Can you say you seconded in person now?
Right.
All right, commissioners, we will take a vote now. Vice Chair Eberly.
Aye.
Commissioner Novichok.
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus.
Aye.
Commissioner Savage.
Aye.
Chair Smith. Aye. We have a unanimous vote on the HISRAP recommendations. I would like to say on behalf of all the commissioners to all of the nonprofits, we are grateful for all the work you do in our community. We wish we could do more. We really do. We're really grateful for all the work you do. Thank you for taking the time to be with us and listen, and we're grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you. All right, next item. We are dealing with our 3 discussion of outreach phase of council referral to research the lived experience of Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Commissioner Novichok and staff.
Thank you very much. I can begin. This is just an update to share that the survey is live. It's online in traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, and it can also be taken in person at Carberly Community Center. And I think I have one request and one update. One update is that the survey the deadline is extended till the end of May. And then the request is just to the commissioners to continue to spread the word so that we can have more applicants, but I think the extended time will allow us to reach more people and to reach, as one of the questions said, more voices that should be included in this survey. Thank you, and I'll turn it to staff.
Yeah, so I think, go ahead, Chair.
No, staff.
Okay, I think one of the reasons we extended the deadline was we really saw the opportunity, thanks to feedback from leaders in the city, that spending the month, the HRC was hopeful to present the results of the report in May. And the thinking went that actually it would be better to spend now until the month of May trying to get responses, and that the month of May, since it's AAH and HPI Heritage Month, that there would be a lot of emphasis on this community, a lot of events through our library and other community events, which would give a wonderful opportunity for the commission to do in-person or more targeted outreach so we can get broad participation in the survey. So there was, just our nexus of how we were going to do this change. And I think I really like the direction that it is going to really spend that month to do outreach and spend it as a time for the HRC to say, we hear you, we want to have your input, and please let us know how we can engage with you to get this important feedback. So that's what it is. I send you all an email that had a link to the website. We have our own email. That's all thanks to Helena for setting that up. We have the, again, traditional and simplified Chinese. If you feel the need to have it translated into other languages, please let us know. We picked those two, working with partners in the community to really hear what they thought it should be translated into. But if there are more translations, we have an easy source to have that happen. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or Elena can if you have specific questions about the website.
No, I think we just actually have to do the work. I will be honest, I've been tardy in sending it out, but if I can encourage my fellow commissioners in the next month to send it to 5 to 10 people to make sure we're getting it into the community, maybe we could ask some of our nonprofit friends to help us with this. Thank you. They've already got a lot of staffs back there. Look, it's working in our favor.
Great, and I think sending it out, but then sending out reminders and having those personal touches in May would be really, I think you might have to have several touch points with the same folks.
Minka, we did a project with the library. There was a nice young lady that ran the library.
Ruthann Garcia.
Could we talk to her?
We certainly, I can put that on, and I think, council member.
Yes, ma'am. I was looking for the link in the packet and didn't find it. Could I get that from you?
We certainly can. I will have Elena send that out, and we will include that more specifically in the minutes. There is a link from the HRC's web page, but right to the survey? Yes. No, the survey, the link to the survey, not just the survey itself. That's what council member is requesting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All right, public comment?
Let me look. There are no hands raised, Chair.
Okay. Let's do commissioner reports. I'll start with mine. We have two pieces of housekeeping. As every April, we have holy days. So I believe the new date is the third Thursday of the month.
Our usual date is the second Thursday of the month, and that's the last day of
Passover.
So
we want to move it.
The question is, we'll have to see if there's a room available. I don't think Elena's had time to do that since it's something we just talked about. But she will query the commissioners as to your availability. She is not in the office next week, so expect it week after next.
Okay, thank you much. The second piece is we were supposed to have a retreat this Sunday. Thankful to our council liaison, on March 6th, the council includes desires to increase in the number of members of this commission back to 7. The first reading of the ordinance increase will be March 27th. If it is on the consent calendar, if it is voted on the consent calendar, the first time we could have new commissioners will be the first week of May. Did I get that right?
That's true. 2 weeks later, it goes on consent for a second reading, and then 30 days later, it becomes live. Better word for that, but that's really what it is. It goes into, the ordinance goes into play.
So the challenge becomes 3 of us are going to remain on the commission, and we would have 4 new people. So for 3 of us to have a retreat and there are 4 new people coming, I don't think is the right approach. So I want to ask if we can push out the retreat until we get that addressed. Does that make sense to everybody?
It makes sense.
Okay, yeah, we're cool.
So what that would mean is that also Elena, when she gets back, will, as early as possible, we'll be getting a date in May to do so. We will again query some weeknights and some weekends to have the retreat and have a variety of times for the commissioner. Actually, we will probably have to have, we won't know for sure. I think at a certain point, I think I'd be fine with sending them out the information to see if they're available or not.
So that is it. We have any other commissioner reports? Yes.
Daryl and I are involved
And the
with
FBI?
the Palo Alto. With the Palo Alto Police, and I have been actively participating with the FBI Academy. Daryl's been attending, and it's been a fascinating opportunity. I tend to sit in the back of the room and listen. And I've met specialists across the board. In particular, I didn't get to tell you, Commissioner Savage, that I brought the articles in on the numbers. If you remember, we first had the FBI, you, Chair Smith, and I attended, and we talked about hate crimes, and we talked about numbers and how the analytics were being put together. It's come full circle. The FBI has issued some additional numbers, collaborating with the Anti-Defamation League on the amount of hate crimes in the Jewish community. And publicly, there's been an increase of 20% in the last years. And now, because I brought that article in, the SAC, the special agent in charge of the entire Northern California division, has taken that on and wants to explain to everyone how the analytics are done, what the assumptions are, so we can then go forward with not just anti-Semitic activities, but Asian hate, racial hate, religious hate, and we'll have a better understanding going forward of how much we can trust those numbers or how much we want to add to them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your work with that. I know in the county in the last week, there was a noose found hanging from a tree in Gilroy, and in Stanford's campus, there were Nazi symbols painted on a student's door. So the work you're doing is extremely critical. Thank you.
In Stanford.
One point of clarification, what you spoke about, Commissioner Kraus. The class that we are attending is actually called the FBI Citizens Academy, which is far different from the FBI Academy. We're not going to become agents.
It's the Citizens Academy.
I saw y'all jumping out the car.
I would not be able to jump over the car this year.
Good.
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay, anybody else? All right.
Although they're actively recruiting, but
I want to thank Commissioner Kraus and Nana Chancellor one more time, because those that did the CDBG work, it's dozens of hours and a lot of personal time to do the work, and we do not take it lightly. And I will say this, I've been very impressed with the heart and the willingness for people to have deep and honest conversations doing this funding. So I'm really proud to chair this commission because I know people are doing really good work. So thank you for that work. Councilor Liaison, do you have anything to say to us?
Just gratitude. Since you've noticed when the item for expanding your size will be in our consent calendar, I will add that we are interviewing the right number of candidates, assuming that we will consent to increase the size. So all signs are indicating that if all goes well, that this commission will be increased in size.
Anything else to share?
Look at that. We did his rap and we're leaving at 7:30. Oh, this is a great day. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you in April.